There?
Yep.
That's Eli, by the way.
Hi, Eli. We introduced yourselves earlier.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Rec Commission, our regular meeting of May 18th. I'm Dick Rosenberg. I'll serve as a facilitator at the start of the meeting tonight, and my only job here is to help the group follow the agenda. So with that in mind, we'll Pledge of Allegiance and Mr. Philbrook.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Let's go. Mrs. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Gutowski.
Here.
Mr. Philbrook.
Here.
Mrs. Scraffy.
Here.
All right. Now, the next item on the agenda, 4, is approved prior minute of the meeting of April. May I have a motion to approve, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our April regular meeting.
A second, please.
I will support that.
Thanks, sir. Any discussion, additions, corrections?
No, not at this time. None from me.
No, sir.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Next portion is community comments.
We have one
Mr.
more.
Rosenberg,
Excuse me?
we have one more, we got the special meeting minutes that we have. to approve
Correct,
also, sir.
right.
That would be for Friday, May
Yes,
12th.
okay. Then let's call for approval of the special meeting, and what was the date of that?
Friday, May 12th.
May 12th. So if, let me get a motion to approve, please.
I'll approve. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the minutes from Friday, May 12th for a special Parks and Rec meeting.
I will support that.
Second. All right. Any discussion? I think that was a 2-minute meeting. All right. Let's, again, just by voice vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Item 5 on the agenda, comments from legal counsel. John, do you have any comments this evening?
Not much, and I'll say hello to our new commissioners who, that's coming up, I think, shortly on our agenda. Not much to report since our last meeting, anticipating that we'd be having the new commissioners come on, and there are a few items that I did touch on last time that are, later on this agenda that we'll be touching on. So perhaps I should just reserve anything I have to say till we get to those items.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stern.
Any questions?
No, just when you go to the next item that's accidentally duplicated on there, so you would skip 7 and go to 8.
Oh, well, community comments is next on my agenda.
Community comments is the next one, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, let's do that, and then you wanna skip item 7.
7 is duplicated down below, that's
Oh,
part of the
okay, so
agenda.
7 is up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard this evening? I would ask that you adjust the board from the podium, and I would ask that you address anything that's on the agenda, general comments, later afterwards, so. All right, if there's no comments, let's move on then. And then let's move to the introduction of the new commission by the outgoing commissioners. Gentlemen.
Go ahead, yeah. Take your second.
Okay, so tonight, have the pleasure of introducing, and if you would raise your hand or stand so that they know who you are. Scott Palmer, Phyllis Zimmerman, Cindy Knight, and myself as alternate, Dan Dudkowski, and Mr. Philbrook.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. So I'd like to introduce Bob Billick, Pam Gettert, and Charles Shelton, which is not here, he's our alternate. So, okay, I think that at this time that they can go ahead and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to give a hand to the new commission and wish them well. We're looking forward to all the great things you're going to do as we step up and away. Thank you.
No, Cindy. I'm good.
Hey, have fun, you guys. Make it fun. Make it fun.
Congratulations, guys. Hello, glad you could make it.
Okay.
It's going to be a great addition.
No, just, you'll probably change chairs after.
Good, how are you?
Determine
Hanging in there?
who's going to be the chair or the vice chair. I mean, but that's your guys' decision.
Strategically located to
We
the
always have to.
ventilation, but it's either too hot or too cold. right?
Yeah, at my age, it's hot flashes.
I saw that.
And then there's the other one later on. They leave me one.
I was gonna say, you want a couple for up there?
No, we got that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not a problem.
It's not on the agenda, but I think it's probably appropriate for the minutes to do a roll call. Both of you agree? Okay, let's run a roll call then. And Bob Billick,
Here.
Pam Goddard,
Here.
Cindy Knight,
Here.
Scott Palmer,
Here.
Phyllis Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay. All right, now, the first item on the agenda is the election of officers. So we've got 4 positions we need to fill. I filled out a cheat sheet for myself. And I thought maybe I should give you guys the same copy so we kind of keep track of what we're doing.
Thanks, Dick.
So I kind of sent out to you the way I'll run the election. I guess I always remember doing this on the school board. And it's always a challenge as you start with a new board, so I think you all kind of got the outline of what I suggested for how I will do this. Hopefully I can find my copy, but I don't know if I actually need that. But anyhow, we'll just start, run down the line. All right. So let's start off with chairperson, and I'll call for nominations from the floor. Nominations, please.
I make a motion to put Phil Zimmerman as chairperson.
Okay. You need to speak up a little bit, Cindy, with the mics in front of you, just in terms of recording things.
I make a motion to nominate Phyllis Zimmerman as chairperson.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Scott.
Okay, Scott Palmer, 2. Are there any other nominations? If not, I'll close nominations, and I will call a roll call again. And I think I'll just walk down the table, if that's all right with everybody, and do it in that order. So let's start off, and we're going to do Phyllis Zimmerman first, so.
Would it, Mr. Rosenberg, would it be easier perhaps when you're doing the roll call, have the commissioner just name the person that they prefer?
Prefer.
Whoever gets 3 votes will be the chair.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you, John.
With
All
only
right,
2
so,
candidates, it seems.
Let me do that then, I'll just go down the sheet I've got in front of me, which is in alphabetical order now, so. Bob.
Scott.
Palmer. Pam,
Scott.
Cindy,
Phyllis,
Scott,
Scott. I feel like I'm in elementary school again.
Phyllis.
Phyllis.
Phyllis, okay, all right. Now, so we have 3 votes for Scott, 2 for Phyllis. Mr. Chairman,
You pick the right seat.
Palmer.
Oh, is that right?
Yep,
All right,
sit there, it's yours.
Well, I got all this stuff, I suppose it's probably good. Thank you.
all right. Let's move on then to the vice chairperson. I have nominations for the vice chairperson.
I'd nominate myself.
Okay? Okay, any other nominations?
nominate Phyllis.
Okay, any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close nominations. Let's again do, in order, well, actually, I'm gonna skip down order, so we'll have kind of a little rotation here. So I'll call on Pam first.
Bob.
Okay, Cindy,
Phyllis,
Scott,
Bob.
Phyllis,
Phyllis.
and Bob.
Bob,
All right, Bob, 3, Phyllis, 2. Bob is elected as vice chairperson. Let's move on then to the position of secretary. May I have nominations from the floor, please?
Nominate Phyllis Zimmerman for secretary.
took such good notes.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we'll just again roll down, and this time I'll start with Cindy.
Phyllis,
Pardon?
Phyllis,
Okay, Scott?
Phyllis?
Phyllis? It's already filled in, Phyllis. Bob?
Phyllis,
Put another name in there.
Yeah.
And then Pam?
Phyllis.
Okay. Congratulations, Phyllis.
Thank you.
All right. Last item is treasurer. Okay, nominations from the floor, please.
So we have Pam and Cindy left.
I'd like to know.
No, nobody wants to be in charge of $2.5 million? Come on, guys.
I'll nominate Pam.
I'll nominate Cindy.
Okay, so number 1 is Pam Carter. Number 2 is, you said
Cindy.
Cindy? Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to calling the question, and we start this time with Scott.
Can I ask a question before I vote?
Pardon?
Can I ask a question before?
Sure,
I
oh,
vote?
certainly, sir. I mean, discussion is fine.
Wondered, given that neither of were willingly asking for it, is it appropriate to ask if they're, or can they decline, or is it appropriate to ask if they are willing and able to serve in that role?
It certainly is. And any individual has the right to decline.
Okay.
I have one more question.
except Phyllis.
The interlocal did not speak to whether one person could hold 2 positions. It.
It doesn't speak to it, and
Right.
under state law, which would by
Yeah,
default
right.
provide, the answer is yes, somebody could hold
I think
2
that's,
positions.
Okay.
actually, as I recall, Robert's rules also allows that. Okay, good point. Thanks, sir.
Is it appropriate to ask if either, or do we vote and then they decide whether they say yes or no?
Well, I think if either,
I'll nominate
Pam?
myself for that position.
Pardon me, what? Cindy, what did you say?
I'll nominate myself
Well-
for that position
Oh.
for treasurer.
If I could just clarify, the only time it would be a problem would be if, for instance, the two offices were required to sign a check or sign a document. You need to have two separate people.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't have the same person signing in two capacities if it requires, two officers to sign.
Okay.
Okay. So, then,
So, okay.
I have one more question then. Bob, would you be willing, as VP, Vice Chair, to also take on the role as treasurer, since that's sort of your bailiwick?
Well, my issue with that, the only reason, or the main reason is I think it's kind of a conflict since I'm the deputy treasurer for the township and we write checks to Parks and Rec all the time and,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
I kind of don't think that that's
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, now, we've got Pam nominated, correct?
Pam
Yeah.
and Cindy.
And Cindy.
Pardon?
And
Pam
Cindy.
and Cindy.
And Cindy, so, okay. We're comfortable moving forward with that? Okay, good. So we'll start this time with Scott and your choice, sir.
Cindy.
Phyllis?
You okay? Cindy.
Bob?
Cindy?
Pam?
Sandy.
And Cindy, do you go for yourself, sir? Or madam? All right, that clearly is Cindy, so, thank you very much, everybody. And it was always, like I said, a challenge that went through very quickly and very well done. Okay, let me just close with a couple things. First, I am going to leave at this point and turn control of the meeting over to the chairman.
Do I have a choice?
Well, no, I guess,
Too late.
would you, okay, I guess we could do that. If you want me to run the agenda for this meeting, and then you take over from there, that is your choice among you. I would normally step away at this point in time, so if you want to do that,
I would entertain some comment on that. I would prefer for this first meeting, just to make it go smoothly, I would like a month to brush up on some of the procedures and processes that I have not been through from this seat in a while. Any other comment from the rest of the board, one way or the other?
It's fine with me.
I have no
I-
issue.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have no issue.
So if you are willing to
Pay
stay.
rate's the same for me, whatever we do it or not. All right, fine, I'll go ahead and do that. Appreciate the opportunity. But I did want to make a couple comments that this is a very important transition in my mind and hopefully in the mind of the whole community. The original Parks and Rec structure was put together some, well, I don't know, back in the mid-80s, I guess, and served, as a functioning group and did well, great programs, good facilities moving forward. But with the two township leaders trying to do that in addition to everything else they had to do, it certainly didn't get the attention that you folks bring to it. You're a lot closer to the people and the programs, and I think that's a great benefit. It also has built into the interlocal agreement a lot of things that are maybe not so obvious from a legal standpoint, which are greatly improved over the previous organization. And then it certainly brings into play what I would say are the best practices in terms of commissions and Parks and Rec organizations these days. So there's lots of room for growth, and look forward to a very productive and enhanced activity. So that's just from my viewpoint. Okay, let's go down, then we've done the election, we need to approve the agenda. So, I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Dick, so can we do additions and deletions from the agenda?
We certainly can, so let me get a motion to approve the agenda on the table, and we'll have discussion, okay? So may I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Claire?
Oh,
We need a second first.
Oh, yes, I do need a second.
Second.
See, I don't know what I'm doing either, Scott.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to rethink. Just kidding.
All right.
On camera.
Claire, you've got some suggestions?
so to remove, would be our website right now. Our person in charge of that, is that still on here?
Yes, it is.
That's the review.
Item E,
Oh,
or item
okay.
E.
Claire, you
Oh,
might
yeah.
wanna, use the microphone?
Oh.
I'm sorry, Claire.
You gotta share.
Yeah, well, I meant to, I just forgot.
Okay, so if we could remove E, the review of the new website, our staff is out sick today.
Remove E under 11,
Yeah.
Under unfinished business, yes, 11E.
okay?
And then if we could add 3 new things, to update the commission calendar.
And you want that under new business? Or just under,
Well, I mean, the
Unfinished
first
business.
commission calendar was approved, so I guess it would be unfinished business, wouldn't it?
pardon?
Yeah.
The first commission calendar was already approved, so I think that all we're doing is updating a part of the commission calendar.
Okay, so you want to take and replace the review website with item E, which is the new calendar, you want to call it that?
Yep, update new calendar. And then our lift pump, if we could add lift pump, that would be to new, to 12. So make it 12D.
You need 12D, then you want lift pump,
Right.
and you want to call off a location for lift pump?
Romeo Community Center.
Okay. Are there any objections to those changes? Okay, if not, I'll ask for a roll call to approve the agenda. So let me just go down. Goddard?
Yes.
Yes for the agenda.
Yes.
Phyllis?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Cindy? Okay. Agenda is approved. So then we got unfinished business. Let's start off with item A, which is PNC Bank signatures for Star and adding the signatures for that. So I think that's probably clear.
It is, and that probably goes with the, this is kind of unfinished business with the new, or the old commission. If you guys were gonna, but you left it on the agenda, do you want them to go when they become signers and sign for the Star Pinnacle? Mike and Dan?
The new commission should be the complete signers,
Okay,
as well as the signers for the bank accounts, for the checks.
right. Okay, so,
But in order to get them on, we're gonna have to wait for this set of minutes to get approved, I think. Because the
Or-
bank needs the minutes to go ahead and
That's right.
verify that the new commissions with their names are approved to.
And that'll be approved after the next meeting, so for the next 4 weeks, we'll have to sign.
Until the draft minutes are completed, I think, wouldn't be, or they need to approve them?
They need to be approved minutes.
No, unless you have a special meeting in the meantime, just to approve the minutes when they're ready. I think
Absolutely.
the first comment would be right, that it'd be after the next meeting, which is June 15th or something like that. Then you would have the approved minutes, and you could literally take them to the bank, so to speak.
Okay.
The bank doesn't make this easy, Claire.
no, oh, I know that about the signers and trying to get all of that added. So just to give you a little bit of background about PNC, Parks and Recreation currently has Pinnacle, which is an extra check to make sure our accountant does all of the accounting, gets it in there, puts it into a batch, then there's a couple of us who have the ability to go in to check on the accountant to make sure that her number equals our number. We approve it, and it just digitally, it leaves a trail. And then, we're trying to do the same thing for STAR. So it's just an extra security backup of our accounting, which the auditors are all aware of and for, so. And myself and our program coordinator, Penny Ganfield, we are the approvers. So we have like little digital, when we sign in, we have to make sure that we have our digital stamp. We get the code number from it, we put it into it, and it just follows. It's just a safety step, and we're, Parks and Recreation flipped over to this probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and we need to get STAR to the same place. So that's all that is. So what I will do then is ask Mike and Dan if we can go in there. I mean, I'd like it done, we've went without, but it would be nice if we could get you guys in there just to sign off on that so we can move forward with STAR. So Mike, I think you had Michelle's phone number and left her a message, and
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Just waiting for a call.
we did too. So we're just trying to get an appointment or a time that works for everybody. So that's that.
I have a question, I'm sorry, and this is for Mr. Steeren. On the interlocal agreement where it talks about who's gonna be signers under the duties of the treasurer, on page 7D, second paragraph. All checks must be signed by 2 signers. Signers on the account must be the chairperson and treasurer. And then the next part is what confuses me. 1 commissioner representing each township. So does that mean in total there are 4 signers?
That would, well, it would be very unusual to have to require, 4 people to sign something, but what I take, and I agree with you, it's awkwardly
Unclear.
worded, and I wasn't at the table when it was
Right, I
worded, so
understand.
I'm trying to make sense of it like you are. I take that to mean that there would be 4 authorized signers, but not necessarily requiring all 4.
Okay, so any 2 of the 4 would sign the checks.
I think that's right.
Is that correct? Is that how it goes now, Clara?
No, now it's a little bit different. Right now, it's just Dan and Mike. Previously, it had been where the officers at both townships had the signing rights. We would take the checks there, they would sign, we bring them back in our safe, and then the people who would approve it, the commissioners would approve it, and at that time, we would move forward.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, having to come to our office every week is the inconvenience. We don't want to, which is, it's fine, like, I'm all for that. But the other thing that we probably have to look at is that there's 3 Washington members and 1 Bruce. So maybe everybody should be a signer. If we're putting just the 4 on, we should put the 5. That way there's a backup.
And if I can, if I may, please, how we did it at the Romeo District Library when I was on the board, it was the chair and the treasurer that signed the checks. But all of us did the signature cards, and we only signed if the chair or the treasurer was not there. That was the only time, and it went in order of the board. So if the chair is not there or the treasurer is not there, then it goes to the vice chair, okay, and from there. So if that helps you at all.
I think that's an appropriate way to do it. It should always be the chair and the treasurer, but just recognizing there are times where somebody's unavailable and we don't want to have to hold up the operations.
Thank you.
Paying a bill because somebody's out of town for a week or 2 or whatever, if we can move the next slotted person in to sign the check. I think that's pretty consistent from one board or commissioner agency to the next.
Thank you, that answers my question.
So we would then put all 5.
I think that
Okay.
makes sense,
I
yeah.
think
This
that's
doesn't say you can't do that,
Right.
it just says you need to have it at least the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot, that's perfect sense. Easier.
That's over there.
All right. Is that it, Claire?
That is really it. Yeah,
Okay.
just trying to figure it out and, we will move forward, or, you know, it's normally done on Wednesdays right now, but it can be done Tuesday, maybe Tuesday afternoon through, you know, Thursday or Friday, so. I think it has to be done by Thursday afternoon though, because we also have ACH, so I can get back to all of you on that, but. So yes, that's it.
So are there two things that have to happen? The first thing is Dan and Mike have to go with you there, and then the second thing is we have to,
So what will happen is Dan and Mike, would have to be the ones, because they're the signers right now,
Right.
to put all of your names on. And once that happens, then the bank will reach out and ask you for your social security number, a copy of your driver's license. And then you can go in at an arranged time, or I believe she actually did it, you can do electronic signing now too.
okay.
So, that is probably the best way, once you, as long as you're okay with your stuff digitally with the bank, so, and it's
Initially,
PNC.
you have to sign all the Yeah, paperwork.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think you physically have to appear at the bank at some point in time.
Yeah, honestly,
You do. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
okay,
And down
So-
the road.
Okay.
After the
Okay.
so we can do that, oh, no, we do have to wait for the minutes.
For the minutes, yeah.
Okay.
For the approved minutes.
Right.
Okay. Does that include item B now, Claire, or is that what, or you guys?
So that was, yeah, sorry, that was more the.
Okay, all right, then let's move on to C, which is the purchasing policy review. Your vendor list there?
So, I would just like to, for a while, my cap, forever my cap has been at $5,000. So if there are things for Parks and Recreation, I can purchase them without having to come to the board as long as they're under the $5,000 mark. It was moved down to the 2,500. I would like it moved back up, if at all possible. I guess until you find you cannot trust me to have $5,000 with the day-to-day operation. I think that something breaks, our lift station, it's always more than 2,500. I could have fixed it already by now if I didn't have to constantly come or wait for a meeting to get approval. So I guess I'm just asking for the ability to move it from 2,500 back to the 5,000 that it was originally done. All other bigger, everything goes out to bid when it's bigger. Sorry, I don't know the amount right now and I don't have it right in front of me, but, and then also goes to the 3 quotes. But after, if there's a need for that, you know, we have a list of vendors, which I did bring you, that we've worked with for years. And I would like, those are the vendors that are, like you to give me permission to use those vendors even with that $5,000, if that is how it has to work. But I'm just asking that I have the ability to run Parks and Recreation and STAR like I was hired to do.
You have any sense, okay. Yeah, ask
You guys all have copies of that policy.
I know that's
Yes.
And my understanding is that that is
Yes.
currently at 2,500.
It's 2,500, yeah. It is in the packet.
Yes.
Or do you have any sense about, when you talk about, you had an example of the lift pump, I think is what you were mentioning, that you could have kind of fixed that. Do you have any sense in terms of maybe a percentage of, when you're talking about the idea of the 25 to 5,000, is that by bringing it back down, is that impacting a majority of the items that you have to do, a minority? Is it, I mean, half of the things that you go for, are they hampered by that
I would
different
say
amount?
like to actually have tree work done, it's over 2,500. Or now what I have to do is, I'm like, instead of doing everything at one time, because I don't wanna wait, and it's just a matter of having the ability to go out and hire one of our tree trimmers if they come in, and having other projects done at the same time, you know what I mean, when they're coming in there. We might have a tree that goes down during a storm, but we also, since they're out there, might wanna take dead trees that are along the row or what have you. And so to make that decision, I think is really what it comes down to. As far as a percentage of how many times it happens over the 2,500, no, I don't. But I have consciously created jobs so that they fit into the $2,500 since that has been lowered.
Now, does the 2,500 also trigger the bid process or just trigger an approval from this board?
Well, there's a PO for anything over $2,000. And then the bid, I always went with I didn't go with the 5,000. I mean, normally, I can cover everything. What's that?
Policy says
5,000. I was gonna say, I normally do everything under that 5,000, and then it just becomes a bid, because it's a bigger project. I mean, not often are you buying something that if it's $8,000 or $10,000, I'm gonna come to you and say, hey, our furnace blew up, or talk to somebody, or you know what I mean? At that point, there's more discussion when it's that high. So. This policy still states $5,000, it was just verbally put to the 2,500.
If I may approach the board here. So, yes, we had put the 2,500 in place. Now, since it was brought up, the pump stations are typically handled by the Water and Sewer Department. So one of the things I questioned was, why is Parks and Recreation fixing a pump station when it's a Water and Sewer Department thing? And I've never gotten an answer. And even when I talked with my counterpart, Mr. Philbrook, he said he was always under the impression that it was Water and Sewer Department. So this is kind of our checks and balances just to make sure that, hey, are we really paying for stuff that we need to pay for? Ultimately, it's a board decision, so I'm just going to offer as to where that discussion went.
I guess my question would be is when was it changed? I mean, obviously previous board changed it.
We changed it. We changed it when we got in as commissioners, Mr. Philbrook and I. We felt that was appropriate at that time.
Why did you change it, I guess is the question.
Why did we change it? Because we weren't finding out things until after the fact. And when we had questions about it, we weren't getting what we felt were at least, I'm going to speak for me, I'm not going to speak for Mr. Philbrook, that we weren't getting all of the information. And sometimes we can offer input that can actually save us money.
I disagree with that, but I have always come and asked questions when I'm not sure, or I go to Washington DPW. Actually, Washington DPW, along with Mike, have been working alongside of me with this lift station and has worked alongside of me with that before. So I feel, or I have felt, that it was a little bit more of a micromanaging and a non-trust issue than it was anything that you're saying. But with that being said, I've been here for many
Any more
years.
questions for me? Thank you.
Can I offer something? And obviously, this is the commission's, the new commission's purview. I mean, it's your purchasing policy, you have one in place, you can rewrite it, you can continue it, you can modify it. I mean, it's your canvas to paint. You've heard the director's position, you've also heard the reason given why it was lowered. I'm just was thinking while this discussion was going on, a possible hybrid approach, and I don't know if this works or not, which would be to authorize the director to make the purchases up to $5,000, but for those purchases between $2,500 and $5,000, the director would contact and get the concurrence of the chairperson or the vice chairperson in the chairperson's absence. Just, you know, since one of the concerns expressed was just making sure that people are in the loop and the you know, transparency and all that. I just throw that out. Again, it's yours to do, but I just kind of present that as a third possible option if that's workable.
May I suggest that one way to go forward here would be to ask Claire to provide a written policy, which is what she is looking for, and bring that forward to the next meeting. There's no reason it has to happen right now.
She brought us what she wants. We
Well,
have
but
it.
Have you got that as a proposal in terms of an acceptance of a policy? Because, you know, when you look at what your board should be doing, you should be dealing with the policy issues. You should be approving policy. And so,
Yeah, that,
if
I
you
mean,
look at it from that standpoint, I would.
she gave us, prior to this meeting, a copy of the procurement policy, which is what she's asking us to change, or to put back to the 5,000, correct?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to, let me get my thoughts down on paper here, to approve the $5,000 limit, with the provision that a list of all purchases between 0 and 5,000, well, I'll make it to 2,500 and 5,000, be provided at the next commission meeting. So you have the permission to spend it, but just give us a report of what you purchased up to the 5,000.
Gotcha. And you will get, you can have our accounts payable
No,
weekly.
just a simple list of, I did
Anything
this and it
between-
cost $4,800, and I did that, and it cost 3,000.
Sure.
That's fine.
I'll second that.
Second by,
Cindy.
okay, discussion.
I think that would it satisfies her request, and at the same time gives us the ability to understand what's being purchased there and know at the end of at the next month, what things were purchased within that category.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good compromise.
Okay. Now I'll call the question. Let's start with Zimmerman,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Billick,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
You're gonna mix mode here, I'm sorry. All right. Okay, that moves on. Okay, next item, D, agenda updates. I think that's, again, Claire?
So, it is. So it was suggested, and I do think it's a good idea, I was watching last night at Washington Township's meeting, they have something that's called a consent agenda, where, all of the, Mr. Rosenberg, can you explain it a little bit more, because.
Well, you want me to? speak?
Explain, yeah.
Okay. I
that'd be
guess, when I talked to Claire, I think it was last week, one of my suggestions was to bring the agenda for this commission up to what I call the same standard that is used in the townships for both those boards. And there's a consent agenda that has a number of items in it It includes things like the check runs, as I recall. Well, Bob, I think you can probably,
Yeah, it's basically the routine,
Routine non-
items, yeah, that, are you're gonna pay the bills, you're gonna, it's all the routine items. It doesn't mean that that you can't question it. It's just, it lumps them all together, so you don't have to go through every one.
I guess my sense of what that is it's the check runs, and then it is the current budget report, which tells you what's in the budget, where you're at relative to budget. And I think that's it, is that?
Minutes, prior minutes.
Prior minutes,
I have a
prior
copy of
minutes.
ours with you
Okay,
if you
right,
want
but I
to
mean,
go through it.
that is, at least in my experience, and again, bringing this up to the same, if you will, standards that are used by the other commissions, I think that's a very helpful thing, because then you all know what the checks runs look like, so you know what the checks are going out for, and then you know where you stand relative to budget. So those are a couple key items that, you need to keep track of.
Mr. Rosenberg, if I can just very briefly comment or elaborate. When used correctly, I love consent agendas, and I've seen most communities do use them correctly. I don't know how much applicability it will have for this commission, which typically have fewer of the routine things as maybe, the township boards, but as has been discussed here, the consent agenda is used only for routine, non-controversial things, and the purpose of it speeds up the meeting. You list them, you adopt them with just a single motion. I approve the items on the consent agenda, there's no discussion, and then you move on to your other items. The kicker is, though, that doesn't mean you can't discuss them. Anybody, whether a member of the public or someone on the commission wants to have a discussion or asks a question or anything, you simply ask that that item be removed from the consent agenda. Then we act on the rest of the consent agenda, and then after we've done that, then we'll talk about the one item that's been removed and acted on that. So, yeah, it's ideal for things like approving minutes, just the routine things, routine reports, maybe things you've seen before that you asked to just be brought back, you just wanted to see it one more time before you approve it, but you don't really need to talk about it because you talked about it at the last meeting. I mean, those are all the things that, between the director and the chair, you can figure out what's good to go on the consent agenda. Some meetings there'll be several things, other meetings there'll be no such things. It's probably a good idea to try. We can take some baby steps with it and see if it works, helps keep the meetings moving along and efficient. We don't bog down spending a half hour on the routine stuff.
Or more.
I'd like to say something. Referring back to the interlocal agreement, secretary is charged with creating the agenda, which I have no problem doing, since I am the secretary. So I would just, in conjunction with adding the consent agenda, I would like to, since the commission board meetings are on a Thursday, I would like to set a policy that, agenda items for the meeting must be submitted by close of business on Monday. Obviously, we can always add them when we get to the meeting, but for whatever agenda is gonna be sent out in preparation, I would like to have to me by email or however, by close of business on Monday prior to the meeting, and I'll be happy to publish that agenda.
That makes a lot of sense, and you're actually being very liberal, because I know I deal with a lot of communities, it's like a week to 10 days ahead of time, and they enforce that with an iron fist. So
I will
yours
make
be
that,
flexible,
I
but
will make that motion to adopt that policy.
that's respectful to your process, and it's also, I think, serves the purpose of transparency, so that way things can be posted, the agenda packets can be put together, circulated to you, available to the public. There's no surprises, and we're not running a meeting where people are just pulling things
Changing the
out of the
agenda, yeah.
clear blue sky at the meeting, and no one knew that was coming, and that's not a good way to go.
And I will add to my motion to adopt the use of a consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. So, if I try to restate that motion, Phyllis, is to approve the use of a consent agenda, one, and then the second part. You want to make two motions out of this?
I don't think it's necessary. I think one's fine.
One, fine, okay. And then to include that, agenda items
Items for the agenda would be submitted,
Submitted
you
no
say,
later than the close of
By
say
Monday,
the close of
Monday,
business
close
on
of
Monday.
business.
Yeah.
prior to the meeting. Okay. All right, or any discussion of that policy?
Creation, the close of business as well as the consent agenda, I don't, but in terms of the actual creation of it, is that a co-creation? Is it items go to Phyllis, and if we have items, go to Phyllis and she makes the agenda? Or is it kind of a collaborative
Well,
with
My
process?
thinking is it should go, everybody has thoughts or ideas that they want on the agenda, send them to me.
Okay, and you,
And I put it in order and,
I would expect it to be a collaborative process. A lot of it's going to be
Yeah.
driven by the director,
Right.
because she
Right.
knows what's coming and going and what needs to be acted upon, would be cleared with the chair. And then that input would be provided to Phyllis, so that she knows before the end of the day on Monday,
Yep.
that she knows what she's supposed to put down on the agenda. But the creation of it would begin with the director and chair, I would think. You can do it however you want, but that's typically the way I've seen it.
and, let me amend my motion, if that's okay, I'm gonna add one more thing. I would like to revise the agenda as it sits, and add an item, I guess it would be, let me look at this, hold on a second. Under community comments, yeah, right, yes, after community comments and before new business, add an item called the director's report. That way, that will be, Clara, that would be your section to put anything you want to bring in up, to be discussed at the meeting. Okay, and so I'm gonna add that to my motion.
Where were you putting that?
In between community comments and new business.
I'll second the second.
Okay,
Yeah, you've got to approve the changes.
Yeah.
You said
Oh,
you seconded
I
it,
did.
so you need to,
Yeah, she did.
you're okay with that?
I'll approve the changes.
Okay, all right. Okay, any further discussion?
this discussion isn't questions, but I like the idea of the director's report. And Clara, I'd like, I guess, to put out for your consideration the idea of, we're sharing a lot of business, we're sharing budgets, we're sharing some of the particulars to make sure that we're, doing the right things per se, but I would also encourage you to share programmatic things that are happening, statistics, enrollments. I'd love to hear about, the fruits of our labor, so to speak. So as you do the report, I'd love for you to maybe toot the Parks and Rec's horn a little bit, as well as giving us the informational pieces.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay,
call the question.
all sounds good to me. Okay, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's call the roll then. Zoran?
Aye, yes, sorry.
Yep. Knight?
Yes.
Billick?
Yes.
Palmer?
Yes?
Got her.
Yes.
Okay. All right, okay, we got a new update, we said item E, Claire?
So. Sorry. Update of the new calendar. I had kind of mentioned it when we had all met, but, our Summerfest is next month. And it's an ongoing program in Washington. So I was thinking it might be a good idea if we move the commission meeting next month to Washington so that you can maybe come a half hour early, or earlier. It goes from 4 to 7 p.m. To kind of see everything and see a program, like tooting our horn. The best way to do it is to actually experience it and to watch it. So I did reserve the room in Washington. It was available. So if everybody is in agreement of the location change, so it would be June 15th, 6 p.m. at Washington Township Hall.
It's fine with me.
That's that.
Okay, that was the update then, okay, thank you, Claire. Let's move on then, I think we're at new business now, yes. All right, there are a number of items under new business. Appears to be the agreement with the Romeo Community Schools, the village Romeo lease. So those two are basically, next up, Claire?
Yeah, so they're kind of together. These are leases that are way overdue. They are no longer necessarily in existence. They need to be updated. We need, as a commission for Parks and Recreation, obviously the Romeo Community Schools are a major part of this department. They were here from the very beginning, and we wouldn't be able to have the programs that we have if we didn't have the school system to use their gyms, the pool, and their multi-purpose rooms. So, again, the Romeo Community School agreement has expired, very long time, but we have such a great working relationship that we have just continued it. But as we all know, that's not the way to do it. We need to bring it legal, change our commission name on it.
Yeah, the written lease was entered into, I think it was 2011, and was intended to be a one-year agreement, and we're obviously a little past that, and it's just been continued over and over and over. And with the new commission now and the time that's passed, the thinking is it probably makes a lot of sense to revisit that. I don't know whether that's been distributed to the commissioners or not. I mean, I don't know if the commissioners have seen the 2011 agreement or
Yes.
not. It is in your back, so it's there. But there's been a number of things. I know some of the, well, now former commission members, as of a half hour or so ago, had some thoughts on things that could be done to modernize and improve it. Certainly there are some economic terms, and there's probably some things to negotiate. It would involve, a negotiating position to be developed by this commission, and to probably have, some dialogue with the school district and the superintendent. So, we obviously can't do that by ourselves. It's really not something that's appropriate to do in an open meeting like this, but, and we had hoped, but just couldn't get everybody together before this point. But it's something that should be on our collective radars to develop a negotiating position, and maybe ultimately to have a committee or representatives appointed by this commission to be able to sit down with representatives of the school district and perhaps myself and perhaps the director, to start talking terms and conditions with an aim toward having a new agreement. And the same would go with some of our other facility leases. I think they're all fairly ancient at this point.
Yeah.
In fact, the one with the schools might be the newest of the of the bunch. So with the new commission, it just seems an appropriate time to revisit some of those and get some ideas and thoughts and make sure that we have an agreement that captures what, you know, what this new commission wants and what's good for the communities being representative, that's fair economically, in terms of what we pay and what we're responsible for and who's responsible for maintaining what and all, parking, I mean, there's a whole assortment of issues that come into play. And I guess there's a few ways we can do it. I don't think we're prepared tonight to tackle any of the things, but, you know, I guess we can
Yeah, I just thought,
at least kick that off, come up with some ideas as to how we move forward with this.
and just to give you a little bit of a brief background, Parks and Recreation, I'm gonna say around 2011 is when we started paying for our use of the schools Monday through Friday. It was a lump sum of $25,000 a year, and that is what it continues to be. The commission a few months ago did approve the school to pay towards the pool. Our pool use for Parks and Recreation is community, and it's probably at about 80%. And I think I'm going low on that because their two swim teams are the only ones that use it. They're not currently having any swim classes. Parks and Recreation does all the community swim. So the commission did agree for the additional $20,000. So in total, it would be $45,000 at this point for the use of the schools. And again, I will underline an exclamation point, how important the schools and honestly the community center for point B, I know we're not there yet, but and Washington Township Hall are to our existence because we have been given or are given the opportunity to use these, and this is how our programs have built and continue to build, so.
Mr. Sterin, with all due respect, I disagree with you that you and the directors should be doing this negotiation. As the director is an employee should not be doing negotiations of contracts. That is left up to the board. My suggestion is you pick a committee of two because you can't have three because now you have a quorum. And for you to, the two in the board, to sit with Mr. Sterin, with Romeo Community Schools and with Romeo, because there's buildings over there too, and then do a negotiation there and then bring the recommendation back to the board for the board collectively to vote on it. That would be my suggestion. Thank you.
I think I
Thank
would
you.
just be there for answers, would be my only negotiating power.
I'm not really good at this, but I'd like to make a motion to set a special meeting to cover those two items so that Scott has a chance to get, and we all have a chance to read through everything. And that would put us back here between the two meetings and take us to court, or take us to the bank sooner. We could approve the minutes from here and putting us in there.
So you want to have a special meeting?
To
I'd
cover.
I'd support that.
Okay. Could you restate it, please, Ms. McKnight?
To set a special meeting to cover the RSC agreement and then the Village of Romeo lease. Those two items, so we have time to discuss that.
And the banking, right?
And the banking, the minutes, we would have the minutes for the banking so that we.
Okay, you want to do a special meeting then, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion on the table to have a special meeting. Do you want to set a date or?
Have to be
What
the
if we
week of June.
suggest 2 weeks from tonight?
Well,
No?
I
I'm just-
think that,
Just throwing something out there.
I'm not sure how everybody's schedules are, if you are, work outside of this and the timing and just to kind of come up with a date, some travel.
It'd have to be the week of June 5th for me.
Okay.
I do have availability I mean, I believe June 5th, 5 to 9 would be the soonest.
How about Monday the fifth? Is everybody, Monday, you open on Monday the fifth, Pam?
Yes,
Yes?
that was not graduation. Yes.
Okay. All right,
You talking about June fifth?
June
Yes.
5,
Just
or you
so
have,
you know,
we
if
need
you
you-
need neither I nor my partner Dan Chris would be available.
Okay.
We're already double booked that.
Okay.
well, that's a question, I guess, for the commission, that do we just want to discuss amongst ourselves what we're looking for, or where we're aiming, and then pass that to Mr. Sterin, or do we want Mr. Sterin there?
I just can't be there that night.
Yeah.
And certainly,
Okay?
I can take direction. I mean, I could give you, if you want to move it along like that, I could give you some of my thoughts in advance for you to, in writing, for you to consider, but ultimately, the commission members would decide what's important to you and what negotiating position you want to take, then communicate that back through me, and I can help you with that. And it's probably better if I'm there, but I don't want to slow down the process.
What's your
Yeah, what do
availability,
you have
and
that
let's see
week?
if we
Is
can
the
work
6th
around
any
that.
better? Or?
No?
For me, no, I'm actually unavailable that whole week, but it's
Right.
possible that my colleague Dan Chris may be available on the sixth. Just I know we both aren't available on the fifth because we were just having a conversation today about how we're gonna cover the things we already have on our calendar on that date. But I would need to check with
Can we
him.
just, can we,
I will make a suggestion, just procedure-wise here. If the 5 of you can get together with Claire and talk through what the elements are that you want in that contract. In other words, what are we doing and what are your objectives? Then you've got a way of going into a negotiation, because these are the things that we want to accomplish in the negotiation. So very often in negotiation, you have the two sides put together issues. So if you can start from your side, that might make it go a lot faster in terms of what it is.
I think
So
that's
Yeah,
a
and
wise
if you could
approach.
send us
Program.
your thoughts in the meantime, that would
Yeah,
be
I
great.
think that's a wise approach. I
Okay.
don't find it to be very effective at all to be publicly negotiating things or to just go into a negotiating meeting without really a game plan. Let's just roll with the punches. You're not going to typically end up with things. I think you need to go in with a plan, maybe with a range, must-haves, would like to haves, could live with kind of things, and just, to have those parameters so that when you ultimately do have that negotiating team or committee, they effectively have marching orders, recognizing they're ultimately gonna bring everything back
Right.
to the commission as a whole to approve, but we want what that committee comes back with, or those representatives come back with, to be representative of what the board wants, otherwise it's a waste of time, so. It's good, I agree with.
so then we could do the 5th, we could do a special meeting on the 5th.
Okay,
Okay, any further discussion?
6 o'clock
Yeah.
All
here.
right, so the motion
We have to check and find out if we can have it here, right?
got what?
Where?
Oh, I would.
Mike's checking the
Oh,
calendar.
Mike's checking his calendar.
You're good for the 5th.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so that covers that detail. All right, should we call the question? Okay. Knight?
Yes.
Okay. Supported by Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay. Billick?
Yes.
Palmer?
Yes.
Goddard?
Yes.
Okay, we got our meeting set for the 5th. Oh, you want to say what time?
6
o'clock.
o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay, you've got that, okay.
And that takes care of A and B.
All right, let's move on then to item C, which is meet the staff. Claire?
No, we're not doing that.
What, meet the
We're not
staff?
doing meet the staff, right? Is that what
Oh,
you're
no, it was
No, we are.
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just, no, you have to meet our staff.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Obviously, one of the things that I would like to happen this time, if the staff would like to come up, we have our three of our full-time staff here tonight. Ideally, I'd like to start trying to bring staff in for one meeting, kind of discuss what they do, so you all get to know them. If you bump into them in the store, or you come to one of their events, or somebody's talking about it. I will introduce, and then I kind of thought they would tell you what they do, what they do. Penny Gamfield, Lynn Walker, and Becky Hopp.
I'm sorry. Ganfield?
Ganfield.
Thank you.
Like you said, my name is Penny. I have been with the department since 1994. I was fortunate enough to do 2 internships with them, followed by gaining a full-time position in 1997. I am the program coordinator. Mainly, my focus is youth sports, youth leagues, adult sports, adult leagues, a little bit of enrichment, but mainly it's more based around like the sports and stuff. This summer and also youth summer camp. So I have 2 really big programs that encompass my year. In the fall, winter, we do a youth basketball program that serves 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, boys and girls. Also a K through 2nd grade program as well. And like she said about the schools, how important they are, I utilize so much of these schools, mainly the elementaries. If the high school hasn't taken it over for their own practices, I'm in there for the most part. The middle school, we're in there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with adult open sports, fall and winter. So like, it's common for people to come up and be like, oh my gosh, are you in the schools? Because we really need some gym space. Do you have it all occupied again? It's like, I'm sorry. Like this past year for our basketball, I think we had 18 teams, and that was just for the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th. So I take care of that. Also, like summer coming up in June, we have our summer, it's not a camp, it's a day program. It's a 3-hour program we run at Indian Hills. We take up to about 150 kids, and we use seasonal part-time staff that run that, as well as a director that oversees the program. It's a 6-week camp that has been running long before I started. It's just developed and changed through the years. It started as I believe it was a low-income playground program, and now we've advanced to where we're actually in the building. We utilize a couple of classrooms. We utilize a cafeteria, a gym, and then the outdoor. And they go Monday through Thursday there with Friday field trips, which is something the kids definitely and the staff look forward to each week. I also work with the high school. We do a bunch of different high school sport camps that we've been lucky to work with them. It's kind of like a fundraising program for the coaches. Their kids will come out and their staff will run the camps for the kids, and then we have a partnership and agreement, and they get a percentage back that goes to their sports teams and or their coaches to distribute between themselves and another coach if they feel fit. And that's been huge. Our sports camps, we've got basketball, football, tennis. We used to do volleyball. We have swimming. Thank you. I'm drawing a blank. So we kind of cover quite a few of the sports. Aside from that, I have my co-ed softball league that's currently running. We just started this past Monday night. That runs on Monday nights out at Crystal Diamonds. We have 10 teams this year. That's been running. We started that back up, I think, when I started in 94. That started, I think, in 95. So, and that's been running pretty strong since then. So it's pretty cool. So if you go to any of the sporting camps, or, you're popping in and out like in the wintertime for at the schools on Saturdays, you'll probably see me. Thank you.
Don't move. So when you talk about, you use a lot of the school facilities, how do you see the relationship with the district, given that obviously they need the building sometimes, with the great demand that you have for Parks and Rec, and obviously they having the schools? How do you see that relationship? How has it been? Do you find a lot of conflicts?
I'll be honest with you. I feel personally, we have such a great relationship, like with the custodians, with the woman, Lisa File, she runs the facilitating, the principals, like they're so nice to us and welcoming. And I can tell you very rarely do I run into any issues. The biggest issue we've kind of come into in the last few years is with the high school not having enough gym space. They've kind of occupied more, like they're pretty much in Hevel and part of Indian Hills, so I've kind of lost certain gym nights there. But they were so accommodating, especially after COVID. When we lost the old middle school, we were not sure what the heck we were going to do with our adult open sports and our women's volleyball, because between the two middle schools, we utilized every single night. So they were super cooperative, and they allowed us to take the gym space at the Romeo Middle School. And the principal there and their athletic director, they're super accommodating. I mean, I honestly, I cannot complain. That's why it's huge. If we were to lose that space, we have nothing to gain when we lose that to move ourselves into.
Right.
So it's huge. It is. And it's mainly the gym space, that's all really that I use except for the summer camp. The summer camp I use pretty much, I'd say like 4 or 5 out of the 5 rooms in the facility. But for the sports on the weekends and stuff and during the nights, we're usually in the gyms. But if I can, I'll take whatever gym space they'll give me. Yeah.
How about enrollments over, I mean, obviously there was a big hiccup during COVID, but even since, how have you seen enrollments? Are they up? Are you struggling?
Since COVID,
Yeah.
especially for the basketball program, slow increase and coming back around. I mean, I think we ran into some hiccups when Joe Dumars and Greg Grant, once those started popping up upwards, once they started offering, it happens. These groups, come up with these competitive sporting ideas that have the same idea, so to speak, that we do. Volunteer parent, same type of thing. I see some dips. I've seen dips go down through the years, but then I've also seen them come back up. Like this year, my league was up this year from last year by, I think it was 2 teams. So to me, I think that's pretty good. Like that makes me happy. Same thing, all of the summer camps, it just, like this coming up, our summer day camp or day program, I think the first week, the second day of registration, we break the kids up into 4 different age groups. The second day, I think it was our 3rd and 4th grade group already had like 35 kids registered. And it was still almost 2 months away. So those are staying pretty steady. My little kids basketball went up as well. And the leagues and our open sports, our open volleyball and basketball are like off the charts. I went up one night to meet a staff member who was collecting money for me, and I walked in and I honestly, I couldn't believe it. We had over 40 people there. The courts, we only have the ability to use the 2 courts there. It was like bursting at the seams. There were people sitting in the stands waiting to get in. It was almost too many people. So to me, they like it. I wish we had more time and more space to give them more, Ideally, I would like to try and see if we could start like a volleyball league for like co-ed, a basketball program for co-ed or for men's or something, but we just don't have the space right now to do it. So we're happy with what we have, and we just keep plugging away with that.
Thanks. I have one more though. 10 teams co-ed softball at at
Crystal,
and no lights. How do you schedule that?
Well, we do a 6:15 and a 7:30 game.
So that gets you 6 teams.
There's three fields.
Okay.
So I just creatively schedule. I mean, when our leagues were bigger, I think the most I had at one time in co-ed was 16. We utilized Crystal or Community Center 3. So the teams didn't really like having to travel, but if we had a doubleheader situation, I made sure that they were at their same field so they weren't moving. But yeah, lights would be nice. I think I've been saying that for how many years?
Do you all have questions for Mrs. Canfield before we let her off?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for making me sweat.
I know, that was a lot.
And again, this is Lynn.
Good evening. I'm Lynn Walker, and I've been with the department. I started in '96, and I went full-time in '98. So I've been there for a while. I started in programming, so I did programs, I did youth, I did TOTS, I did special events. And then as our department grew, Clara moved me into facilities and maintenance. So now I oversee both facilities of the community center on Morton Street and at Washington Township Hall, our senior center there. I oversee 22 ball fields, which is a culmination of Gilcher Park has 2, Crystal Diamonds has 3, and each elementary has 2 to 3 fields at the schools that we see there. Memorial Field and the 4 fields behind the community center itself. I oversee all the 5 parks and all of our maintenance crew, our ball field crew. And I do one program, which is the fireworks at Peach Festival time. So she didn't let me off the hook too easily with the programming. So, but my day is filled with maintaining at least I carry at least kind of 20 travel teams along with all the house teams, which is Romeo Girls Softball, Washington Baseball, and then along with North Macomb Soccer, AYSO. They use any amount of space available to hold their practices. Bruce Township carries the fields here. Washington Township, Gilcher, Crystal Diamonds all carry soccer fields. So, you know, we coordinate all those teams and organizations for that. As facilities are concerned, I facilitate all meetings, any homeowners meetings, Girl Scout, Boy Scouts, showers, thank you. Showers, you know, all of our stuff that goes, all the programming that goes through, I double check to make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone has their proper stuff that they need, supplies throughout the building, supplies for all the maintenance stuff. So, you know, it's a whole oversee all of that. So, I can't think of anything else.
And our maintenance crew, they're all part-time.
Yeah, all of our maintenance crew is part-time. They have been with us for at least 20 years. So they know their stuff. Our ball field guy definitely knows his stuff. Our maintenance guy knows his stuff. So we've had some overturn a little bit on that. A couple of them have retired, so we've had to replace, and we've had some really, you know, we've got some good guys, you know, working out for us. So they help us out a lot. They know a lot, and they do a great job.
Oh, please, yeah. You gotta cut me off, though, so I'll just jump right in. Go ahead.
I'll slug you know. Wait a minute. No, and this is gonna be sort of a silly request, but I am a person who always attends the Washington Township Board of Trustee meetings. When you guys book that room with an event on the same night as the Township Board meeting, we have difficulty hearing what's going on at the Board of Trustees meeting, because they're always kind of hooping and hollering in the other room.
The event, or is it meetings, like homeowners meetings? Because I know homeowners meetings can get a little testy.
The other night, just last week, I know one of the fire chiefs was in there, I don't know what he was doing, but they just get to, you know, so, and I know you want to book it, and I understand all that, but man, sometimes it gets really noisy in there. And I know the township's planning to do something else sometime in the future, but right now it's a little tough being in that room when there's a lot of people.
So it's probably the room directly behind the board, so it's the Ruby. So I can look at that and do adjustments to that, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep,
That's it. Other than that, you're doing a great job.
thank you, thank you.
So no fun people on the days that we're.
No fun people, no rowdy homeowners.
Yeah, you bring in the ladies who make the mats out of the plastic bags, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Knitting club, yeah.
So I didn't ask this of Mrs. Ganfield because she talked about having all the facilities that are school-based. But I wondered in terms of the facilities that you're managing that are really Parks and Rec facilities. I heard last night at the Washington Township meeting, they talked about a lot of the capital improvements that were made by the previous commission here. And wondered, after checking those boxes off, would you have one or two things that if you had that wish list or you could wave the magic wand, what would be one or two facility improvements that you would prioritize in this community from your perspective?
From my perspective, I would one, have a pavilion at Gilcher. the Bruce Pavilion is almost booked constantly in the summer. I think if we do that, that would be ideal because that park is gorgeous for one, and that would be great for the park there. Facility-based in the buildings, it's storage would be another. We are lacking in storage for a lot of what we like to store, either maintenance items, even programming items itself. Rooms, you know, we are busting at times, but, you know, I tend to be able to adjust people and be able to give them the room space that they need for what they need. I don't find it extremely challenging, but it would be nice to have just like one big building that just had all of it. But, you know, but having what I call like the satellite areas too, it reaches people because some people, like you talk to Washington, or people come from Washington and, you know, I'll say, okay, so do you want to use this room in Romeo? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't know it was up here. We don't go that far. We stay down North 26 and we keep ourselves down there. And we like, well, okay, well, just let you know, we do have a building up here that's nice and you can come and see that as well. And, you know, so sometimes they'll come up here and be like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then we book their room for them. It would be nice to have one giant park with like ball fields all in one thing, and we can enclose it so there's no vandalism, and we, you know, you know,
Like a baseball.
like you know, with lights, yeah, lights would be great. But like if we had a big piece of property that we could develop ball fields on and soccer fields and pickleball courts, but we had that park open from dawn till dusk type deal, and we had lights, we could program out there for like days, you know, you could run so much, you know, and of course that would probably maybe be a little bit cheaper than a building, you know, with all that. But right now, being able to do what we can with what we're working with, I don't facilitate anything inside the schools, but inside our buildings and inside the grounds that we do, you know, we do a pretty good job in maintaining that and getting people what they need.
All right, so if we ever need to do a visioning session and dream big, I know who we need to put on.
I'm
You guys ask
surprised.
for one thing, and we get it.
Yeah, I know, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, you know, it's like,
you've
you
got
know,
the mic.
I do pride myself a little bit on organizing, so I have been trying to do that, and I just know we just don't have the space to store stuff. And that's the one thing I do know, that if we could get a big pole barn somewhere, even if it's on a park property in the corner that we're never going to utilize for anything, but we could store stuff in it, that would be huge for us. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of you, too.
Will we let her get rid of that microphone?
And here comes Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Hopp. I am the director for the senior centers. There's two of them, one in Washington, one in Romeo. We have about, I would say, 30-plus seniors that come in, both facilities, pretty much every single day. I overlook a staff of 10 permanent, part-time, that are there Monday through Friday, both facilities. I overlook both fitness centers, one's in Washington, one's in Romeo. Washington's only open in the morning, 6 to 1:30. Romeo's open 6 to 1:30, and then they reopen from 4 until 8. There's about a staff of 6 that oversee the fitness centers. We do have one that is a supervisor, so she does the scheduling for the fitness centers. I also look over the fitness classes. We have about 11 contract employees, I would consider them. I started off in the senior center. I worked there for a year, and then I went over to the front office side, and I did the aerobics program. I was the supervisor there for a few years, and then I got promoted to the director of both senior centers. We're there every day. We have cards, games, mats for the homeless that we might start scheduling in the evening.
In the
quiet time for board meetings.
They actually want to start in the evenings because they think that they can bring in some of the people that work and stuff like that. It's a fantastic program. We have educational programs, art programs, we have daily cards, we have events off-site. Pam knows all about our events because she's got we work with Romeo Serve students. They come in, they help with all the events. We just had a Mother's Day event at the Octagon House, sold out, was beautiful, super nice. We had our indoor garage sale today in Romeo. We had about 30 tables set up, lots of people, lots of traffic. We have a separate brochure that is just geared for seniors. I brought one for each of you. Wait, what is there, 6?
I'll take it.
And these I can leave back there if anybody else wants them. Oh, I work in Romeo for a week, and then I go to Washington for a week, then I come back to Romeo for a week to make sure I'm at both facilities, spread my time, see everybody. If I had that magic wand, I would just,
Wait for the question.
I'll just jump right to it. But one of the things that I saw today is because our parking lot was super packed. And right now, we have a whole bunch of cones in the back, which affect the senior center and the fitness center. Is this wrong? And we have literally cones. So you have senior drivers trying to manipulate around these cones because from my understanding, there's a grate or something that is sinking and we shouldn't be driving over that. So that's taken away about 6 to 8 parking spots because we have to make sure that cars can go around the sinking hole. So if I had that wand, I would repave that back parking lot.
Washington?
This is Romeo.
Oh, I'm Romeo. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not.
Yeah.
It is on
The
in
back
By
side.
the fitness center.
You take Walter Sheets down and instead of going to the ball fields,
Yeah.
it's on the back side of the building. Yeah. I toot my horn for my staff if it wasn't for them and for the seniors. If it really wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
I toot my horn for all the staff too.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
wasn't for them.
Scott, do you have a question?
Well, I was waiting for Phyllis, so I didn't jump right in.
Are we looking at quoting the repair of that drain?
We need to fix the parking lot and the drains at the same time.
Oh,
It will happen. So that is in this year's budget.
yeah, I remember that prior discussion. Okay, thank
I
you.
wondered about your enrollments as well. I mean, obviously it fluctuates with, who's in town, who's snowbirding maybe or whatever, but how are your enrollments? How are you seeing people utilizing the facilities that you oversee?
They actually, since, COVID, everybody went home,
Sure.
coming back super slow at the senior end. There was a lot of things that we couldn't do. We couldn't play cards because you can't touch, you can't be across the table from someone, so the 6-foot rule and playing cards wasn't happening. Card games, any sort of games was not happening. Bingo did happen because we could still do bingo. But enrollment after that, it's going up right now. So it's actually where we were prior to COVID.
Nice.
Yeah. It's active. It's very active.
Getting the word out, you obviously have the brochure. How other ways do you get the word out of what you do? And maybe this is for all of you. Obviously I know brochure, there's a little bit of electronic such, but how is the main way that you could grow by getting people to understand what you do?
Word of mouth is probably the number one advertisement for us, I think it's the number one advertisement for everybody. We Facebook, we're on our website. I take these to both libraries, Gilcher and Grosvenor. Besides that, I think that is one of our difficult parts because a lot of people are like, I didn't know that this existed, or I didn't know that this was here, or stuff like that. So it's hard. From my understanding, I don't think that we can necessarily put too much. I don't know about our advertising budget. We do have a marketing coordinator now, and she's doing awesome. She really is a superstar. So I would say probably Facebook and these are the number
And the
ones.
schools.
Flyers in
Yeah.
schools.
Well,
Yeah,
they
for them.
actually
For me,
electronic.
flyers, we don't do flyers in schools because it does it wrong.
Yeah, wrong, dumb,
Yes, yeah.
What about potentially hitting up churches, local churches?
You know what? I just had one of my admins research the churches in Romeo, Washington, Bruce, because I would like to contact them to see if I can put bulletin stuff up there.
Right.
I've had some of the seniors take some of the flyers to their churches to put up, if they could put it up on a bulletin. One of the big things was like bingo. We wanted to get some more bingo players Monday morning in Romeo. So they did, some of them did take, but that was, just started
So you're
thinking about that. Yep. Yeah, yeah. Trying to always be ahead, think, you
Well,
know.
I just want to say, you guys, I have not partaken of programming. I moved back, I lived here a long time ago, moved back here after all my kids were gone, and my grandkids don't live around me, so I don't take them to your events. But everything I have ever heard from anybody is positive. I have never heard a negative comment from anybody about your program. So I just want to congratulate.
Thank you, that's cool, thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, that is nice.
So I know we put into the future agendas of Clara having a kind of a report, but I would also love to maybe put out for periodic, having the program folks come back again and give us some updates on maybe at
And
the
that-
end of each
sorry.
session or whatever, I don't know.
Absolutely. These are 3 great staff. We have a variety more, a lot of permanent part-time, which Becky had talked about. And then we have permanent part-time staff that work in our adaptive rec, who have developed that immensely. There is our swim program, so we have our swim as permanent part-time staff. We have a lot of the departments that I'll make sure that they get here so that you can meet them, because I think it's really important that you do put these numbers or the different things in the direct, so that you understand that these decisions that we're making are affecting your residents that work for you, as well as
Absolutely.
the residents that are getting our benefit from this program, which we are very proud of. And I think that sometimes causes some of the friction, because we are so proud, and it's very hard to explain to everybody in a nutshell what we do and how we do it. But this is a great way to do it. So these 3 were here tonight. We'll get, so you can see our accountant here. I mean, there's so many different facets that make this department and STAR so positive and good for this community, and it's why we're still here. So.
And also, we have a really super cool boss. I can tell you that, she's awesome. I know there's been a lot of negative light shed through the years on her, but she's great to work for, and we've done, I think the nicest compliment I've ever gotten is people coming in and wanting to work for us because they've heard it's such a fun place to be. So I
Why
think that
not?
needs to be said, so. we're
Yeah,
gonna
I don't
do-
think any staff would mind coming and talking and stuff like that. A, it promotes us. B, it's word of mouth. If we tell you guys about our programming, then you guys can talk for us as well,
Yeah.
you know?
Thanks a lot for coming in.
I did have a question as a Washington resident. Can I ask, or no?
You can try.
I'm curious to know, like, the positioning and what each position, like, in the past, we've never had the committee this, the committee that, the treasurer. Like, I'm kind of confused. What's the difference between the treasurer here and our accountant? If I'm confused, I don't know if everybody else might be confused on roles. Is that bad?
Nobody who, if I may.
You may.
Nobody who is on the current staff, whatever functions they're performing, they will still perform the functions. For instance, the treasurer and the secretary roles, they're really more related to these meetings and check signing and that type of thing. But for instance,
Okay.
the treasurer isn't going to displace, whoever is performing the
The
fiscal
checks and
functions.
balances of everything.
Right.
Like-
You may
Okay.
oversee, they'll be part of the process and will see the reports and may ultimately sign off on them. But, no, it's not a replacement, it's not a substitution.
Okay,
It's
well, that
more,
makes sense.
in that sense, more of a corporate formality than a functional change.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight,
Yes,
too. We
thank you
appreciate
very
hearing
much.
from you. I know it's after work hours.
I thought that worked around the clock.
Yeah, that was very good.
They do.
Probably do sometimes.
Let's go on to item D then, which is your lift pump issue. Claire?
So, Mike, I don't know if you want to come up. Oh, he's busy. Mike, did you want to come up and help me
You
explain
want
the
me to
lift?
do it, Mike?
Oh, okay, good. Bob, oh, good. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let Bob go ahead.
Bob, would you school us?
Yeah, well, apparently the lift stations, are taken care of by whatever, community or whatever that they service. This particular lift station services only the Parks and Rec building. And it is in the lease that Parks and Rec provide the maintenance. And I believe Mike has been in touch with Romeo DPW, and they do not take ownership
Right.
of that maintenance. So, again, to reiterate, there's 2 pumps. And basically, you know, the sewage is going to a gravity-fed system. So at certain points, you have to lift the sewage so that it then is on a downward slope into the plant. Or to go over something, and that's what the lift station provides. The 2 pumps are backups to one another, and if you only have 1 pump, you know, it's gonna work, that's great, but if it fails, then you're in deep doo-doo. So,
Literally.
yeah, so, you know, this is something that needs to be addressed. You can't wait for the disaster to happen. You know, if something like this happens, it really sets a lot of things back. Cleaning it up, getting the programs back, these guys would have a nightmare rescheduling things and stuff like that. And then just thinking about it, you know, do you want to go and lay on a yoga mat on the carpet that was just cleaned after having a, you know? So, anyway, you know, to prevent something worse from happening, Mike had contacted the DPW firm that the township of Bruce uses, and priced a minimum, or a medium range pump for the replacement. And the replacement for the pump, you know, removing the old one, installing the new one, is about $5,044. Oh, shipping, yeah, is extra, right? Huh?
About 300.
About 300 for shipping. So, you know, you're probably looking at about $5,500, somewhere around there, to replace that pump. So,
Budget-wise, where does that fall?
So what happens is in improvements and maintenance, there is extra cushion in there because of the fact that these things happen. If it was way bigger than $5,000, or if we have 10 of these $5,000, then we're gonna have to look at it as a budget amendment. But what we'll do as you guys go through the year and you can see how the budget is being spent, we'll kind of know where we're at. And you can look back on why, you know what I mean? If you're like, well, why is this so close? We can say, oh yeah, it's because of this, this, and that, so. It's a matter of we need it more than, I mean, we're running off the 1 pump, which the 1 pump is brand new, or not brand new. It was replaced probably about 6, I don't remember what year it was, if it was about 6 years ago. I'll say everything's 5 years ago, but it was probably 10. But that one is still going. So this one, it's just its time.
So how, do you know when this one was replaced last?
Probably straight in from,
Okay.
never during my reign or while I was here, with the exception, only one of the lift pumps has ever been replaced, so.
I have a question. That's okay. So the price that you quoted of $5,044 is just for the pump itself?
that's removing the old one, installing the new one.
Okay, so do we have more than one quote for doing that?
Right now, we do not, because we were looking at it and we used Bruce's DPW. Last time, we used Washington's DPW.
Okay.
They bought, it's about the exact same price. We paid, I wanna say, just under $3,000 for the pump that we had bought, about 5 years ago. And then about the same to have the labor and installation
So
put in.
this quote is from who?
This quote is
Waldorf
from,
and Sons.
yeah, Waldorf and Sons,
Waldorf?
who Bruce Township is using as their DPW.
They maintain our lift stations here throughout the township. The cost of the pump itself is $33.70. So
When we did this before, we had a little bit of electric, actually, that had the little red light. This is how we knew that the pump, something was done with it, so we had the electric done before, and that works, so that's good.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the lift pump from Waldorf and purchase the pump and installation from Waldorf and Sons for a total of $5,044 plus approximately $300 in shipping, to come out of the building improvement fund, is that correct? Is that what it's called?
It would be the maintenance.
Maintenance fund, okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Zimmerman, second by Palmer. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the question. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Palmer?
Yes.
Billick?
yes.
Goddard?
Yes.
Knight?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item, we call for community comments. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard from this evening?
I would like to say one more thing. Because I feel like I
All
forgot
right,
a few
now,
things.
you gotta follow the procedures.
Wait.
Stand up, you know,
Okay.
no more than 5 minutes, say your name.
My name is Becky Hopp. I'm a Washington resident. Okay, I just wanted to mention one more other thing that's in the booklet, travel. Travel's a huge thing for us. We do have extended trips and day trips too, so I didn't want to miss out on that. I kind of was going through all my programmers and thinking, did I get everybody, you know? So that was important for you guys all to know as well. And also Vanessa Carr is a famous singer in the area, and she's coming to Washington the same day as the kickoff summer. The kickoff summer, I think, is around 4 it starts. She's there from noon to 2. Here's flyers again for you guys too, so spread the word because she's supposed to be great, okay? That was it, thank you. Unless I sit down and come back.
I know.
Thank you.
That's a
Yeah.
Thursday, right?
Well, that is the idea, that we're trying to build that event because it has been successful, and we're keeping it, though. It seems like whenever we move a date or move it anyways, it's either superstition or whatever you want to have it, it's just a good thing. It's weird, it's on a Thursday, but it worked for everybody, so hopefully it will work the same way this year too. And then maybe we'll hit something on a Friday, you know what I mean? That's how festivals and programs begin, so.
Mrs. Meisner, I thought I saw your hand earlier in the meeting. You wanted to address the commission?
Sure. Do I have to go up?
Yeah.
You do.
It's just
Can't
crazy.
hide in the back.
It's just craziness, what I have to say.
Oh, we don't want any of that.
About the lift station, I live in the condo complex in the village of
Oh,
Romeo.
yeah. Introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry, Mary Meisner, 489 Victoria. I have a comment about the lift station, because evidently, when Fritz Builders built our complex, we are serviced by the sewer system of Romeo and the water system, but we also have a lift station. And this price that you just approved sounds like dealomania, because we just had flooding of basements and blah, 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 at the cost of $10,000 just for the replacement. So whoever the company is, you got a bargain basement, a blue light special. How about that? That's how old I am, blue light special. And this whole meeting, what I've seen, I was in Anchor Bay to a baseball game, so I was late, but it's a breath of fresh air. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, let's move on then, item 14, what's happening, Claire?
So I'll go brief, but right now Parks and Recreation and Star, we are in the process of our audits. It should be over by tomorrow. Everything seems pretty good. What will happen, very good, I should say. Once the audit is complete, which will probably be within a month to 2 months, it seems like we will, the auditors will come to us either to that next meeting is how it's preferable, and they will go over it with everybody and so the public can see. So we've always had great audits, never any issues, or if there are improvements, we take that advice and we move on. And for instance, Pinnacle, that would be one of the, they're very happy that that is happening. So that's all I have really, except for our summer is really gonna kick off because school's getting out and we're off and running. So we're taking many registrations, and a lot of registrations are now online, which is, at first we were like, oh geez, it seems like our registration is down, maybe it's COVID, but when we start looking, really people are using that online programming. And I think I had talked about this before, that our registration program is actually going to not be available in the next year because they were bought out and it's all becoming in the clouds and data, which is going to be a beneficial thing to us, but that is something that we are going to be addressing in the not too near future. They do have the company that bought them out, the people that are there. We've had this program for over 20 years. So it has been a great service to us, and they're assuring us that it's going to be even bigger and better, but we need to kind of see what's going to happen. So we were going to view that, and maybe that's something that we have a couple of people, if they'd like to see it too.
So did I hear you right that you're gonna have to have a patch for the next year until they get?
Nope, we're good. We are good. We're going to, though, probably towards the end of summer, start looking at the new program that they're offering and then look at the other programs that are out there just to make sure, do we want to stay with this company who has been purchased by somebody else, but for their digital improvement, if that makes sense. So they're using their program that they have, but they're just making it web-based, so that you can just, wherever you're at, wherever we're at, like the staff can go on the phone. Right now we have to log me in and go in our registration program, but we could look and sign someone up right on the spot if they're at one of our parks or needs help. So that is a really interesting and a very good feature that we'll have. I think it would really come in handy, especially for the staff, to be able to do that. But we are going to have to look at costs, because that is something that we did not budget for. We did not know this before the budget went out, and it's probably going to be about, the last one was, I'm going to say, about $10,000. However, weren't they going to charge per month at the number of?
It was gonna be a one flat out fee,
Okay,
and then, but we get unlimited support. Like,
unlimited support for one fee, but then we pay per, or how many
We wouldn't
registrations?
pay for we wouldn't pay monthly, it's just one fee.
One fee,
But
okay.
it is substantially more than what we've done with RecPro currently, because
Mhm.
RecPro is not web-based, this would be web-based for us.
Right. When we bought RecPro, 20 years ago, and we've done one update, honestly, what we got from it it was worth the money. Hopefully this new program, if we look at it, and we can go through RecPro because we trust them and they've been great to us. If it's something and it's in the price, you know, that's just something that we're gonna have to look at. We definitely
Would
need,
want
so.
a committee, I would be interested personally in being a part of this.
Sure.
so.
Sure. I mean, anybody, even to see our registration program that we have right now, just, I mean, it's not that fascinating, but it does its job and its purpose, and, it's just, it has helped us become what we are today, so. But that's it.
Do we have anybody on staff as a grant writer, that's a grant writer?
No,
No.
we do not. Honestly, the jobs that you're all taking, Phyllis,
Yeah.
are gonna, I mean, the amount of time that is put into what you do and everything I do, there is just gonna be so much more time to be able to look at things that have not happened. And because the interlocal is done, and because there's 5 people, and investments, and, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, this is exciting, this is good and needed,
We'll get organized.
yeah, absolutely.
So do you have a timeline for looking at this program with those vendors?
I wanna say we were gonna, actually, weren't we aiming for August?
We were aiming for August because they, if it were to be approved, we would want, because it's going to take 6 weeks to train staff on the new web-based.
So we would keep what we have, and that's gonna, when is Rec Pro, do you remember when it's disappearing?
I think he said it, I
First of
think
the
Dale
year?
said it's probably a year. So a year when we talked to him in April last month.
Yeah, it was right
Yeah.
after.
He said if we were to go in the timeline of October, and, because you gotta try to find a timeline where we're not so busy, but it's kind of
Right.
hard. But we're gonna have to learn the new software on anything that's decided.
Right, no matter how we go.
Yeah.
We got a new phone system and that, I'm still learning the new phone system. It has so many capabilities that, but it's a good investment. That one was web-based too, so.
So you'll be researching, obviously the one you have now, and then other.
Right, there are other
competitors
apps.
To see what else we have that would be comparable.
Yes, we've had many people, as soon as they found out that Rec Pro was merging with this other company, I don't know how they find out, but they started calling me already, so. And we have had one other, when I first started here, our very first rec.
Where?
But Rec Pro, I mean, and we've had Galaxy, I mean, because we've done, for Lynn's facilities, for like ball fields, it was a little bit different than Rec Pro kind of came up with their own version, so they've become all-in-one for us, instead of having a variety of different registration and scheduling programs. And then Star has their own scheduling program too, which, we will get Dory here so she can talk to you more about the management of Star, but we thought we didn't want to be here till 10 o'clock tonight, so.
Sure.
Okay, last item is, well, no, not the last item, second to last item is commission comments. Any of the commissioners wish to make any comments this evening?
I would. You've been discussing change. Change is always painful in my business. I have changed more things in the last 35 years. And I know there was a lot of fighting and everything that went on. And this right here is what was needed. And as much as everybody fought over it, I think this is the best thing for all the communities, not only the 3 that work here, that we work with, but the surrounding communities. And this is, and I also want to thank Mike and Gary for putting in so much time to put all this together, and then Lisa, Deanne, Cindy, and Mike for all the arguing and everything. But you guys know you have to go through that. You guys are gonna see it when you're switching over from Rec Pro. It's like, you're gonna be pulling your hair out just like the phones. I mean, change is never easy, but I think that we all get along. We did our little icebreakers and everything, and that helped a ton.
You all
did.
played well.
Yes, we
Yeah.
all played well together.
Oh, sorry, Pam.
Yes, let's do it again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll have to do it
It wasn't bad.
I'll bring the one I have. one
Yeah,
day.
Oh, that's right.
Anything?
Nope.
I was appreciative of this evening and everyone, even us coming together, before, but hearing from the program, hearing from the folks that, do this work.
I will say ditto everything that everybody has said. I also want to offer a very special thank you to Dick Rosenberg
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
for all of the work he did through this process, leading us through all these meetings and helping to get us into the Robert's Rules of Order kind of thing. I have a lot of experience with it, but I know most people do not. So he has been extremely helpful in putting this all together. And I'm happy to be here. I'm hoping that we can soar.
And thank you for doing the minutes.
Only been doing it for 45 years, I mean, it's okay.
Have to use the skills.
Yeah, right.
Well, I will ditto a lot of the comments that were made, and Cindy, I appreciate you acknowledging all the people that put the time into this, because it has been, as you stated, a long process.
Yep, very
But
long.
we've involved in something I think is extremely workable, and I am very positive about what will happen from here. The extent of this program is just amazing to me, so wish you all the best.
I have one more
And I'll
piece
entertain
before
a
we
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
I have one more.
He's got,
Uh-oh.
I was perusing your master plan and found a mission statement right on about page 6. And I would ask for a volunteer to read the mission statement out loud on the record for today, and I would love to have it be part of the beginnings of our meetings.
I'll do it.
Please, Phyllis.
Now, I have to warn everybody that I am a crier at the drop of a hat. So if I start crying when I read this, please forgive me.
Me too, that's why I wanted to do that.
Our mission is to attract and encourage participation for all age groups and abilities through positive opportunity and quality service for the purpose of enriching our residents' lives. Absolutely.
So I don't know if I need to make a motion to have this part of the regular agenda, maybe after the
I think
pledge
you
or
can,
something.
as chairman, you can just request that.
All right, I'd like to
Make a
request
motion.
that. That makes its way onto
On the
our,
beginning of the agenda of every meeting?
I would like to have it
You
right,
got it.
yes.
You got it.
Keep us grounded in our mission. So with that, I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I have a
I'll
second.
support
Yeah.
whoever.
It goes tonight. All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.